Hello, hello. Right. I think we're all good today. Volumes, video, all the stuff. Okay, alright. Let's see. Kerry's here, Richard, Yolandi, and Zanka. Thanks for joining. And Luke's. How's it going? Fatherly. Arena, hello. Thanks for joining. Zanka, hello, hello. I'm just going to turn my headphone volume down a bit because it is a bit loud for me. Okay, there we go. Now I can actually hear myself think. Right, how is everybody doing? How's everybody's week been? And so, for anybody who was here last week, I do apologise. The milk yeah, that was not a good mixture for me. My stomach was not good, but I've corrected that, so everything's good now. Luke's have an interesting question, but it might be hard for beginnings. I don't want to stress you. No, don't worry about that. Carry on. Throw it at me. Jeff, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. I did actually say that I would bring, I can't remember why, but I said I would show everybody one of my knives. It's a decorative piece. Oh, wait, that's the back side. There's the front side. It's actually quite a nice little design. It's almost like a serpent goddess. Should actually use the small, considering I've now created the Temple of the Horned Serpent. Didn't even think of that. Actually, it's even got a caduceus. I didn't even remember that having that. That's quite cool. It's like it's a decorative knife. It's not really practical, but you know, it's a great design actually. And they really did think, well, they didn't just like ignore the back. It's complete design. So, I do like this. I'm gonna have to start using this thing. Just put this down here. Now, hopefully it doesn't fall off and make big noises. There we go. Right, Jeff is doing good. That's good stuff. Right, waiting for Luke's question at the moment. I think he's probably typing it out. While waiting for that, what have I been doing? What's everybody been up to? Because I'll let you know what I've been up to. Very beautiful. It is a beautiful item. I do like it. It's just been in my bookshelf. I'm actually going to put it over here because it feels like it's going to fall over. It's just been on my bookshelf. I've got an axe as well, which is very decorative, like a dragon axe. Very nice. Knathame, Yolandi, there is a chopping board I want to get from Temu. It's wooden with a pentagram on it, with place sacrifice here printed on it. That's a good one. I've actually seen the chopping board, I think it was the Ouija. It was spirit board, looking board as a chopping board, and it started going into memes, I think, and it was like, I don't understand why my chicken keeps coming back to life. Things like that. Oh, that's pretty good. I like that one. Yes, what have I been up to? I have been up to creating content mostly, past week or two actually. I did finish Meet the Devil course, which is now available on my Patreon in the shop. It's an independent. It's not part of the tiers. It's just a standalone. So if you want to go get that, I think it was pretty good myself. But yeah, that's available, and still working on the various content for the Temple of Horned Serpent, which is available on Patreon as well. I've actually tried to get everything there. The one thing I have had to change on Patreon is move the services off and move them back to my website, and those would include candle spells, sigil crafting, and consultations, and the healing. Because on Patreon you can only buy a product once, because I mean, it's for creators, so it's obviously for selling digital products. And you know, if you buy a digital product, you don't really buy it twice because you've already got it. So I've set it up so you can only buy a product once. But if you want like more than one candle spell, or more than one healing, then you know, you can't go and buy it. So I've moved those onto my website, but the other stuff, all the other stuff, my books, the video courses, all of that stuff are still on the shop on Patreon. Hope that doesn't complicate things and make things confusing. Yolandi, the theory of the course is very interesting, love it. Thank you. I did enjoy putting that together. It was actually, as far as I remember, I mentioned it in the introduction. The text that I actually put together for the whole thing, when I started recording it, I started with the introduction of the first section, which is like a general overall view of how the folkloric devil originated or developed out of you know, the theological devil, the witch trials, all that stuff. And that ended up being half an hour long. So then I counted through the chapters, which are all relatively the same length. I would have ended up with a 6 or 7 hour video. So I did cut a lot out. So, but I focused on the Sabbatic goats, the witch's Sabbath, and I also thought that the inclusion of the Jungian shadow self, you know, in relation to the devil was quite important to leave in. So. Yeah, sort of left those parts, the important bits, and then obviously there's the practical, the actual ritual that I'll take you through to go and meet the devil, and I did make that bare bones. The ritual itself is extremely simple. You don't need hardly any tools at all, and then it takes you. You open the gate and you walk or crawl through the gate, and you then take a guided journey to go and meet the devil. So it's really for, and absolutely anybody can actually do it. You don't need to find a forest that nobody's been to. You don't need to try and find a chapel or a church that you can walk around. You know, all of the old traditional methods of doing this, which may have been available to people in the UK or places like that, but not to a lot of people, especially those living in the city. So I designed it so it was available for everybody to do. Okay, anyway, enough about that. Luke's, when I'm connecting to beings, deities, etc., and I'm reaching deep state of meditation, I have visions, and sometimes I see beings doing something or standing, then they look at me and vision ends. Okay. I'm not entirely sure what the question is, I'm sorry. So you're saying that you get into a deep trance state and then you start to see the being standing there and then the vision ends. Could be that you haven't actually stated any purpose. Are you going to the meditation with the intention of just seeing beings? Seeing the entities, in which case you have accomplished the task, and then when you've done that, they go away. Are you going into the meditation or the session with a question that you need an answer to, that one of the spirits can actually answer? If that's the case, then that's a different story. So, you know, you're going to, therefore then, the entity that can answer the question should come forward and help you with whatever it is. So, you know, check what you're actually, the reason you're actually doing it. As I said, if it's just to see something, then task accomplished. Curiosity, you only took the course. Andrea's here. Hello, Andrea. Thanks for joining. Melanin. This is off topic, but could you briefly talk about the pentagram and how it's used in magic? Ooh, goodness me, that's a big topic. The pentagram tends to symbolize a lot of different things, and it depends on the tradition you're following. Normally the broader aspect of it would be the five elements, or the four plus quintessence or spirit. How it's used in cases such as ceremonial magic, you may use it in the lesser banishing, or the actual rituals of the pentagram. And in that case, you would be using, depending on which one you're doing, if you're doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, you're usually just using the earth banishing pentagram. If you're doing the supreme rituals, then you start to actually use the various different elemental configurations of the pentagram, plus the passive and invoking of the spirit, I think. Forgot my terminology. And also, just again, coming back to ceremonial magic and their banished, or their pentagram rituals, you've got the invoking rituals and you've got the banishing rituals. And in that instance, you're going to be drawing the pentagrams in different ways. You can banish or invoke air, you can banish or invoke fire, etc., 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 depending on which way you actually draw the pentagram. So what you're doing is you are drawing either the element into spirit or spirit into the element, depending on if it's an invoking or banishing aspect in the actual drawing. And obviously it's not entirely perfect, because when you're working with, if I remember correctly, water and air, which are on the horizontal, you're either drawing water into air or air into water and then continuing around with the pentagram. So, does spirit into or spirit out of isn't precise or perfect, but I think one of the ideas of it anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to use the pentagram in magic itself. Another protection as well. Pentagrams used for protective purposes, a protective symbol. If you look into the Greek, you have Hugeia, who is the Greek goddess of health, and on old coins, the pentagram was actually drawn with Hugeia in mind. And I wrote about this in my first book, The Reality of Things. It's a long time ago. I'm trying to remember. So you've got the Hugeia actually breaks up into five kind of letters, parts of the name, and those relate to the Greek letters, which then relate to the actual elements themselves. And you can go around the pentagram in that configuration. So yeah, there's really lots and lots and lots of ways to use the pentagram. Kerry Yolanity will do it then, thank you. Oh, good stuff. Got another person. Just Andrea, hey Richard, hope all is well with you. Was interested in the course, not sure if I should do it. Thanks for the confirmation. Same as yours. Especially if you love historical facts. Andrea. Alistair's here too. Please say hi to him. Hello, Alistair. Welcome. Glad you're here. Luke's the focus on energy of the being I'm connecting, and then it happens. It's in these short visions. It's kind of strange, like they know I'm there, looking at my eyes, and it ends. Yeah, as I said, it does sound like you are going into the meditation just wanting to connect with their energy, meet them, see them, or something like that. Nothing wrong with that. But as I said, you got to the point where you've seen them, and therefore task accomplished. What you could add to that maybe is the intention of enveloping their energy with your own energy, and just make that singular. Because you did say spirits, plural, do that with one spirit at a time, experience that energy, don't do multiple at the same time. Even if you do want to connect with multiple spirits within one session, invoke them individually. Okay, not all at the same time. It's going to be too much, just overpowering. But yeah, just kind of extend the intention of the meditation itself, if that makes sense. English weather is history as well. And everyone is doing well today. I'm doing well. I'm at least not. I'm feeling better. um. Oh yeah. So get back to content creation for the temple and everything. So I've gone back. All the first three materials done, and as I mentioned before, I've gone back and started to expand on some other stuff. So, for instance, in the first month, I introduce protection and protection magic and cleansing and all of that stuff. So I created a video which expands on that. So the next month is I'm going to include more on ancestral veneration. So I wrote all the text out, well, half of it. I've still got to get into the actual practical side of it. This is an examination of ancestral veneration and ancestral worship in different cultures and all of that stuff. It's a book so far. I've got 230 pages or something. So I'm probably going to just make that one into a book. I'm still going to do the second part of that. But yeah. It's an interesting study, I must say. And ancestral veneration, I think, is one of the things that we should all be doing. But, I guess it's a personal thing, but I just, connecting with the ancestors is just one of the things that in the beginning, when I started practicing them for many, many years, I didn't even consider it, really. I think it really hit home when my parents died, my father died, and then ancestral veneration became this very important aspect. And I now understand why it's so important to so many people and cultures throughout history in the world. It's huge. Andrea, thankfully, I think he sometimes feels a bit invisible due to me having a laptop. I know he's there, don't worry. Andrew, great to hear. Playing my fave song. Yeah. Some good old Bauhaus. Kerry, I'm moving forward with Agaras on our project to restore insanity defense in Kansas. Wish us luck. I do wish you luck, and I'm glad it's working out with Agaras. You asked me that question, I don't know, what was it, a month or two ago. Which is the best spirit to work with for legal matters, and it's not something I really have ever thought of, considered, needed in my own practice. So I definitely had to give it some thought, and Agaras just came up. So, but it sounds like you're having some good success there, so that's good. Zanka, a quick question about the quality of incense, sticks, cones versus resin, and candles, normal versus beeswax. Under what circumstances is it important? It's actually a good question, and I think in many cases it's something that either resonates or doesn't resonate with the person actually doing the ritual itself. What I mean by that, and this actually came up last week, I think Luke's asked a question about using the chakra candles. For me, that wouldn't do anything. For Luke's, whoever asked the question, they found that it did work for them. But for me, it wouldn't, because it's a candle, it's a colored candle. How's that going to affect my chakra? If I am working with my chakra, I'm going to be using specific visualizations in the spot of the chakra, etc., etc. An external candle, for me, wouldn't really do that. So I think in some cases it has to do with how it resonates with a person. If a person is doing a ritual and incense is a very important aspect of that ritual, let's say frankincense because it's a resin, or copal. Let's actually take copal, because copal is an amazing resin incense. It's very cleansing, very purifying, and it creates a lot of smoke, even just a little bit. So, you know, somebody who's using copal as a resin and it's creating all this smoke, and you can almost feel the energy of it. Whereas if they were using a stick, which is the same scent, it kind of, psychologically, it doesn't have the same impact for some people, not for everybody. I actually use frankincense cones a lot. Actually, I burn them every day. I've got a whole big box of them because I love the smell. I love the scent that it gives, the actual fragrance it creates in the room. And I feel that if I like the smell, and this isn't all cases, but if I like the thing I'm using, the smell, the fragrance, then the spirits I'm working with are going to like it also, because they're kind of connecting with it through me. That's not all cases. Some spirits are going to ask for things that are really, really stinky because they like it and I don't. But just on that level. So yeah, I think it really comes down to the person who's using them and if they actually connect with it or not. You know, if you're going to go into a ritual and you think that stick incense doesn't hold the same vibration as the actual resin, which is the actual you know, resin that comes out of the tree itself, then that's what's going to stick in your mind, and then it's going to be different. Concerning candles, you do have the aspect of normal candles are made of paraffin. There's that to consider. On the one hand, paraffin is not a bad thing. It's made from pine, which therefore can become a very herbal aspect, I suppose. But at the same time, it does have a level of toxicity, which in which case beeswax is a lot better. So, you know, there's those things to consider also. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Andrea, best of good luck, Kerry. Kerry to Andrea. Melanin, hello Melanin. Are crystals a part of your magic? I don't use them myself. I do love stones. I am a stone person, but it's not crystals. It's not crystals and gemstones. I tend to enjoy when I'm walking down the road. I see a stone that just like says, pick me up, and then I have to pick it up and take it home and use it for something. It could be the home of I actually use stones a lot to house servitors. Although in that case, it's usually I go to a river and I'll find a stone in the river itself, because then after the servitor has completed its task, I'll take the stone back to the river, and so that it can sort of the servitor can go back to its source, and the stone gets washed clean and it gets returned to where it came from. But yeah, quite often I will pick up stones, just normal stones in the road. I think they are incredibly powerful, actually. They hold wisdom and insight, and you know, there's actually a specific meditation or visualization practice that an old mentor of mine, Peter Padden, amazing guy, he actually mentioned him in his old podcast once, where you take a stone, just a normal stone, not a crystal. You can take a crystal, obviously, just a normal stone, and you meditate with it for a while, and you get to know what it looks like. And then what you do is you visualize it growing into like a mountain size, and you kind of have a look around the base to try and find an opening, and you find an opening that leads into the stone itself, or the mountain, and you go and meet the guardian of the stone. You know, and just doing that practice kind of makes you appreciate just normal rocks and stones that you find outside in your garden just a little bit more. You know, to actually meet the guardian of this little stone, you know, it's really amazing. But yeah, no, sorry, to the actual question, I don't use crystals a lot in my practice. You know, there are cases where I will add tiger's eye or something to, you know, I'm at the moment I'm working with planetary magic, so just started a fresh practice, and I'm just starting to build it up again. So I added tiger's eye to the sun. I suppose we can call them talismans that I'm creating. You know, so I might add crystals, little gemstones or something to those things, but I don't do crystal grids and all of that stuff. And it's not that I don't believe in the power of crystals; it's just never been a part of my own practice. Anyway, Andrea Lee, Nan really liked the rose scent she noticed when she first visited you. That was a long time ago. I vaguely remember a rose scent. I think that's when I was experimenting with different combinations of things, and I was trying to. I couldn't get hold of Otis. Is it called Otis? Which is a type of. It's like a pure rose essential oil. It was bloody expensive. So I do remember experimenting with different rose essential oils. Maybe it was then. Can't remember. Zenka, thanks for your answer. It's a pleasure. Luke's, I'm confused about it. Usually, while I connect, for example, Yogamanda, I see him on his true form, huge snake, and when things like this with vision happen, it changing, and I see many forms. Well, that's because they are formless. You know, we've stories, mythologies, legends. All of that stuff was said that Yogamanda is the world serpent and a big snake. But it doesn't mean that they're actually a snake. It doesn't mean that the Nagas are actually snakes, but they are serpentine energy. So, you know, these spirits are formless. We are formless, actually. We just agree on this form that we see. The perfect example of this would be when a long time ago, years ago. I always feel old when I tell these stories. I connected with one of my guides who happened to be Native American, and he always used to appear as this old man, this old Native American guy, like the medicine man. And I used to sit and chat to him and everything else. And then one day I sat down and I kind of asked him to come and sit with me so we could have a talk. And he was this young warrior. And I said, you know, how am I supposed to believe you're actually here if you keep changing the form? And his answer was, I'm not really here. So, you know, there's your answer. Worked that one out. I had to. Yeah. Melanin, great insight, appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Dragon, how are you doing? How big a role does belief in magic or its effects play in success of said magic? I think it plays a big part. I mean, if you think about it, if you do a spell working you don't believe is going to work, that in itself is belief. You believe that it's not going to work, and therefore it's not going to work. It doesn't matter what you do. So yeah, I think it's the will and the desire. That's really what belief is. It's the will and the desire that you put forward. If you don't really have a desire to do what you're doing, then there's no will, there's no energy, there's no oomph. There's just nothing being put into it. But yeah, at the same time, if you don't believe that it's going to actually accomplish its task, then that's the belief that gets carried forward. You are not going to accomplish your task. So I do, in that case, I do believe that it is a very important aspect. A lot of people don't like talking about using the word belief. It kind of gets mixed up with faith and things like that. But if we use the words will and desire, passion, those are really what we're putting into that whole aspect, I think. Let's see, Andrea Luke's, that sounds cool. It sounds as though you're seeing many of the energies. Sorry for misspelling your name. I'm sure he's okay with that. Luke said, yes, it's very mystic and beautiful journey. It can be, yeah. Dragon, I'm good, and it's always a pleasure to attend one of your live streams. Oh, thank you. We've got everything working properly today, and it looks like it's continuing to work properly, so that's a good sign. Let's see, I also feel like my clairvoyance growing up. Like I see something, someone, but it's one big mystery for now. Yeah, yeah, the more you do this stuff, the more you are causing your energy to flow. And if you're causing your energy to flow, your psychic senses are going to awaken more and more and more because the energy's flowing. And that's because you're doing the actual work and the practice and everything else. So, you are going to start seeing some stuff, you're going to start experiencing some stuff, but sometimes that gets a bit cryptic, and sometimes you might get messages that you have no idea what they mean, and it could be several years later before you actually realize what it meant, and it's usually the strangest thing. You'll be having this abstract, normal conversation with somebody about, I don't know, chocolate chip cookies or something, and all of a sudden they'll say something and it'll trigger a memory which then answers the question that you had 20 years ago, and you were given this cryptic answer, and now you understand it. It's just the strangest threads that start to happen. Dragon, how do you strengthen your belief and lower doubt? Practice. Because when you actually do practice, when you do spell working, and keep a journal. Absolutely vital. Keep a journal, because you need to keep record of what's going on, what worked, what didn't. Okay, and then when you know what works, you can then bring that again into a new working, and you can change it slightly and see if something else works better. But this allows you to see that, not everything is going to work for you, but there are some things that do work. Because I think what we tend to focus on is, we do spell work and do one spell and it works, we do another spell, it doesn't work, we do another spell, it doesn't work, and all we focus on are the ones that didn't work. Because we know to self-doubt and everything else. But if you have record of everything, you can see what worked and what didn't work, and you can enhance the things that did work and make them stronger. And it's good to have a variety of different things that do work in your toolkit. So, that's why you keep records. But the more you practice, the more you can see that, it does work, but also understand that not everything's going to work. This then allows you to lower your doubts and strengthen your beliefs. The other thing is to just mentally do it. Literally tell yourself that you are the most powerful being in the entire cosmos when you are doing a spell working, and make yourself believe it. Become an actor. If you actually study how actors actually get into character, do that. This becomes very much the idea of theatre of magic, where you are actually acting, you are becoming something that you want to be. I suppose another way in line with that also is to actually draw in the energy of the thing, the energy of confidence, the energy of the opposite of self-doubt, for instance. Draw that energy in and allow yourself to resonate at that vibration, and therefore then you go forward with the belief that you can do whatever you want to do. That's what I would do. But yeah, it does take practice mostly. Just seeing things that actually they do work, and then that gives you a bit more confidence. It's about confidence. So in that case, what you might want to do is just do small things, like do sigil magic, for instance, and work on the different methods of transferring the sigil into the unconscious mind, all the different trance states that you can actually use to do that, and finding that liminal point where it actually transfers. So you get to know a particular method of working really well, and then you can also experiment with what works and what doesn't. But because you're doing sigil magic, they're usually for quick, immediate things, and therefore you can see the results very quickly, and you can start recording them. So that also gives you confidence. Dragon, how does path working work, and can I make one up on the spot? So I assume when you're saying path working, you're talking about guided journeys and guided visualizations and things like that, which a lot of people still, and I used to use it a lot myself. I'm trying not to lately though, but they term path working. So it's the idea here is if you're going on a guided meditation, you are being guided through a particular scene, you are taken through the whole thing, and then you are brought back to the beginning. Okay? There's nothing you do. All you do is just experience this visualization. When you go on a path working, it starts with a guided meditation where you are walking down a path, whatever it is. There are particular symbolisms that start to come into play, and the symbolisms become very important, and they're very, very much tied in with the culture and the tradition that you're actually following at the time. So it may be like you walk between a white and a black column, for instance, which are the columns of the Tree of Life, or I've forgotten the names. The two columns. But then you come to a water fountain, which also has a particular symbolism to it. And then at some point, you are left on your own. You are told that you have reached a certain point, or you meet a person on the path itself, and now you have to sit down, you have to talk with that person, or you have to ask for something, or so it's kind of like you get led through symbolism, which takes you into a deeper, really say a deeper trance state, but further inward into yourself through the various symbolism. And then at some point you meet somebody who you then have to interact with. Then you're left alone. And then it either says, or you come back by yourself at that point, or it leaves you there for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then it will continue the journey to meet the next person, etc., etc., etc. So that's what a lot of people consider to be path working, and I do and always have. Strictly speaking, it's not. Path working itself actually relates to the Tree of Life, and actually walking the paths between the different Sephirah. That's really where path working originated and came from, and it's about walking or experiencing the path itself, working the path, and so that tends to be very, very different. There is I actually still need to read it though. A very good book by William G. Gray called The Talking Tree, I think. It's the companion to his other book. Hang on, I'll never find the names of these books. Because the first one I'm speaking about actually goes through the Sephirot, and the Talking Tree actually goes through the paths specifically. Can you guys still see and hear me and everything? Just make sure I'm still moving here. Did you lose me? Am I back? I should be back. Just let me know. Ladder of Lights. Ladder of Lights. I think it was Ladder of Lights, if you can hear me. Just see, make sure everybody, yep, you're still here, never left. Okay, alright. Okay, Okay, I seem to have disappeared for some people, not everybody. Okay. Alright, so, the books. Yes, we were talking about path working. William G. Gray. I think the first one is The Ladder of Lights. And then it's Talking Tree. Just go down a quick look through all of his books. No, it's not that one. Yeah, I think it was Ladder of Lights, and then The Talking Tree is The Paths. So, might want to just check those out, they're very good. Okay, so, carrying on. Andrea, confidence is key, knowing is stronger than belief. Yes, absolutely. Luke, so true, like a few months ago in night, some beings were saying something to me, and later I found out that was transforming night, like I reach higher level, or at least something important. Yeah. And if you're being given the message of transforming night, then you are going through various transformational initiatory processes, probably. Andrea, journaling is a brilliant way to build confidence. Oh yes, absolutely. Because we, as I said, we tend to focus on just the negative things, a lot of people. So if you've got it written down, you can go back and you can check which, it wasn't all bad. So you've got proof, kind of. Andrea, Luke's certainly sounds like you are on a mystic path and transforming your vibration in a good way. Melanin, I like hearing others' journey to ascension. Yeah, it's interesting stories. I'm not really sure what that means for me, though. Now, people have asked me this question, what's your ascension? What experience did you have? I don't know. I don't remember ever ascending. I don't really know what that means, to be totally honest with you. But I do believe we do it several hundreds of times, or maybe through a lifetime. But it really is about coming into the light, enlightenment. What was that book by Buddhist? After Enlightenment, The Laundry or something. I like that title, it was very good. Luke's, exactly, I understand it clearly at all. I always wanted to be medium, and it started to happen, then discovered my gift for tarot, like I understand them so well. We're really becoming who we want to be. That's the whole goal, that's the purpose. Becoming who we want to be. And then re-evaluating who we want to be and becoming that one. Andrea, anyone noticing a clarity and energy shifting in a really positive way recently? Can't say I'm noticing it myself. I do know we have some quite bad astrological weather until March. So kind of, in terms of that, keep your head down. Yeah, not sure myself. Alright, then somebody lost me, and I came back. Here we go. I'm just following the chat here. Let's see. Oh, Johanna is here. Hello, Johanna. Richard, great song playing now. Was it the one that's playing right now? Or did I miss one? This is Joy Division at the moment. Andrea, Richard, yes, come here to meet up with everyone and stay for music. Yeah. See, if you get bored of me, you can listen to the music. Johanna, yeah, what is ascension? Yeah, you see, I think all these words, ascension, enlightenment and stuff, have gotten quite a new agey bent to them, and I'm not sure. I don't like using the terms myself, but I kind of understand it. You, I would say that it really is about um, coming into the light, and what that means would be that you are on a particular path, and you get to the point where you actually understand what the hell was going on, and then you go through the next door. As you go through the next door, that's a new beginning. Initiation means beginning. So, you get initiated onto the next path, and you go onto that one, and you reach the end where you see the light, reach the light, become enlightened, you ascend up, really. Um, and, you continue. So there's you go through hundreds through your lifetime. There's various other types of initiation as well, red thread initiation, white thread initiation, which are very, very different to what I'm speaking about now. Um, but interestingly enough, if you in demonology, specifically modern demonology or traditional generational demonology, as Connolly speaks about it, um, you know, she speaks about Dukant, etc., actually doing ascension rites, and the ascension rite is actually to go and meet the spirit or the demon in their realm itself and speak to them. So you don't draw them to you; you go to them. Similar to traditional witchcraft, where you may tread the mill and go into the underworld and go and meet the gods and goddesses in their own home, where they actually live. But that's called an ascension, right? So what really is this ascension? Don't you know? Vin, is that Vinada? Hope I didn't mispronounce that. Ascending can apply to multitude things. It's all up to personal interpretation to quite an extent. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think a lot of things are up to personal interpretation. There's some generality around the words that we use, but quite often we need to actually have a discussion to understand what everybody's actually talking about. Jono, say hello, Jono. I caught this. Johanna, coriander sucks. It does. Oh my god, yeah. I hate it. Let's see. Andrea, hi, Jono, the mug. Hello, Jono. Zanka, is fetch beast equivalent to spirit animal? I think I goofed by invoking the latter instead of the former. I'm not very familiar with this concept in Temple Aspirin course. Alright, so not really the spirit animal. Again, coming back to the idea that it comes down to personal interpretation as well. We have these various interpretations or various terms that we use in spirituality: spirit animal, power animal, totem, etc., 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 etc. Spirit animal quite often refers to an animal which is acting as a guide at a particular time, and you may have various and many spirit guides throughout a lifetime type of thing. They are guiding you. In some interpretations, that is very much what I would say is your power animal, which then relates to the fetch beast. I prefer to use the term fetch beast myself because it is part of the soul. The fetch beast, in my terminology and interpretation, obviously this is me, talking about these particular terms. So, in my understanding, the fetch beast is part of the soul. We also have the fetch mate, which is also part of the soul. So we have these soul fragments. If we bring them all together, we get what some people may have called the Holy Guardian Angel, or what I call the personal daimon. But even in those terms, the Holy Guardian Angel is quite often referring to the fetch mate itself. When you're working Albemelin, for instance, you have the two different spirits, the two spirits that were given to us at birth is usually the way we look at this, and it's often referred to the lesser demonic or something like that, and then the holy guardian angel, or the higher being, or the higher self, or the holy angel, whatever terminology we use. There's usually these two aspects, and I believe that is the fetch mate, the fetch beast, and the fetch mate. So you get in touch with the process I take. You get in touch with the fetch beast, and then you get in touch with the fetch mate at a much later time. There's no definite timelines here; they can all happen at the same time. But then you bring everything into union. So you bring the lower and the higher together into union. They meet at the middle, and then you've got the entirety of your soul, really. I don't know if that helps. Yeah, if you're doing the temple aspirant stuff, if you do go into the temple member stuff itself, the first degree, then you go through various practices. Eventually, there's an exercise where you meet Fetch Beast, you absorb it, you become one with it, you shapeshift into it, etc., etc. But it's only much later that you'll, we go through the exercises to meet the fetch mate itself. But at some point, even in first degree, you may experience that already. As I said, there's no specific timelines to this. It happens when it's supposed to happen. Luke's how to find out if your light and dark is balanced. It's a thing I'm working on, and I feel like there's balance, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's really a definite way of actually testing it or telling. I do remember I used to go through periods where I used to, like, the pendulum used to swing quite severely to the light side and then quite severely to the dark side, and I used to keep doing that. And eventually it comes to a point where it just stops swinging, and then you find equilibrium. I don't think there's really a way to tell. I guess one way is when you stop using that terminology to describe your own practice. Quite possibly. Because if you're using that terminology, you are still... I'm just guessing here. But if you are using the terminology, then you are focusing on the terminology, which means that you are very much focusing on that divide between the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the dual aspects, whereas you're trying to find that balance, that non-dual existence. But eventually you find it. If you carry on, eventually you find it. You find the equilibrium. And then sometimes you get kicked off that equilibrium. It's not like it's like you find it and now that's it for the rest of your life. Sometimes you get kicked off the equilibrium. It depends on what's going on in your life at the time as well. Johanna, yeah, I mean, I kind of understand what they mean by ascension, but a better word could be used, I think. Vinada, where it does come to ascension is strict ritual protocols, something you prefer the route of, or would you prefer to work years, decades, etc. with specific force to attain it? Question nullified, thank you. Oh, okay, alright. I'm getting confused now. Does that mean I answered the question? Sanka, thanks, it's a pleasure. Renata, I love it when I answer questions I didn't even know I did. While possible, already answered. When it comes to divination techniques, what is your preferred method in combination with spirit? Pendulum for me. I'm not a diviner. I don't use divination tools myself. I do tend to question the spirits directly, but if I need to check something, I'll use a pendulum, because usually it's a very simple yes/no answer that I need. And also, it may even be the case that none is preferred. No, I think some kind of divination method is a good thing to have. because you need to confirm. You need to check. And, good example of this is something recently I was told to do something by a particular spirit. It wasn't anything bad or harmful or anything like that, but I just had the sense that I needed to actually just double check what was going on. So I pulled out the pendulum and I just firstly checked if the communication I got was actually a communication from a spirit, and that it actually was that spirit that it said it was. And I got a yes and a yes. And then I asked the question, should I do what I was told to do? And the answer was no. So it's really good to have these divinations in place, because you do need to check things. If you want to do a spell working, for instance, it's a really good idea to do a divination beforehand, to actually just make sure you are allowed to do the spell working. We sometimes get these ideas that we have to do a particular thing in order to help us, and it might be a really bad idea. So at that time, divination, it can be a very important thing. Also, Vinada, the previous question offered a considerable amount of insight into the answer. Apologies. Oh, no problem. No problem. Dragon, how accurate are divination techniques? Can you know the future, or just the present and maybe the past? It's not really about telling the future. It's not future telling. What you're doing with a divination technique to look into future events, time's not real anyway, but what you're doing is you are basically asking the question, if I continue on this path that I am currently on, what is going to happen? And you will get an answer. That doesn't mean that you cannot change that, and that's why we do divination, to find out what's going to happen. So if you've got some road bumps ahead, you can then find out how to get over those road bumps or around those road bumps. Sometimes we have to go over the road bumps. It's just part of what we have to do. So this is why we use divination, but it's not about telling the future or anything like that. It's about finding out that there's a particular course of energy that we're following at any one given time. If we continue to follow that course of energy, what's going to take place? And then we can find out if we need to divert that, we can use magic to then divert that. So that's why we do divination. And as I said, sometimes if we're considering doing a particular spell working, it might not be a good time to do that spell working. Therefore, we use divination to check if we can do it, if we should be doing it. If we do it now, what are the effects going to be? Is it going to be useful? Is it just going to be a dead drop or anything like that? So this is why we use divination. If the answer is don't do it now, then you can start asking what time should I do it? When should I do it? Should I do it at all? Is it detrimental to the path I'm on? All of these things, all of these questions should start coming up. Not just, I want to do a spell working, let's go do it type of thing. Jono, the fact that you're asking that question makes it seem like you're self-aware, and that counts for a lot. I've got a problem with judging myself harshly. I think you're right. I'd agree with that. Dragon, how do you start and then improve and deepen a relationship with a particular spirit? So to start with, you say hello. Literally, you just say hello. And that can be just reaching out, mentally, emotionally, and saying that I would like to work with you. I would like your help, your assistance, or something like that. And then start giving offerings. Do not give blood at this stage. Don't give blood to a spirit that you have not got a really strong bond with. But offerings may be incense, flowers, water. Water's an excellent offering, it really is. Lighting a candle once a day. just for a few minutes, just to say, I'm thinking of you. My awareness is with you, and where energy flows where attention goes. I love that saying. And then you start to then communicate a bit more. You can then ask direct questions if you are at that point where you can actually speak to the spirits, or you can use a divination method to ask the questions. And ask the spirit to actually speak through the divination method. And then you obviously test the spirit. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter which spirit it is. I don't care if it's the Queen of England or God himself. You test the spirits. I know a lot of people coming from a Christian background get kind of worried when people say test the spirit, because they are told they're not allowed to question. But you do, you question, you test, and it's expected from these spirits, from these gods and goddesses, from the daemons. It's expected that you test them. So you test them to make sure that it is the spirit that you want to work with, and not a parasite. If you don't test, you could end up with a parasite, and you build that connection, that relationship stronger and stronger and stronger, and then you end up in a bit of a dark, bad place. So test the spirit. Always test the spirit. But at some point, if during communication, as the relationship grows and expands and develops and strengthens, you may be given a particular password or a phrase, or turn my sound off. Not to do that. A particular name that's personal to you and between you and the spirit, for instance. And then when you go meet them each time, you can use that passphrase, that word, that name. It could be an end, for instance, if you're connecting with the daemonic, for instance. And then you just carry on strengthening and building the relationship, just like you would with anybody, whether they are seen or unseen. You meet someone new, you invite them to go out for a cup of coffee, and you start to speak to them, get to know them, and you build a relationship. And also bear in mind that sometimes you may say you want to work with a particular spirit, and it's just not, there's no connection. Just remember that can happen as well. Don't try and force it. There's no point in forcing it. You're just wasting your time at the end of the day, your time and energy. Again, same as if you were meeting a new friend. You meet someone new, you go out for coffee, you click or you don't click. If you don't, why you're not going to force a relationship. So very similar to that. You just carry on building the relationship. Luke, to see, I was thinking of if you should work with light deities 90% of the time. I'm connecting with Dark Goddess. Again, there's no such thing as this. I don't think there's anything light and dark about the spirits. They're not light or dark. They are just spirits. Just like nature is nature. It can destroy and it can create. There's no good or bad. There's no masculine or feminine. There's no. This again is coming back to duality. There's no duality when it comes to divinity. So when it comes to spirits, there's no light or dark. Some of them may be a bit more inclined for destructive purposes. Some of them may be a bit more inclined towards creative purposes. But they are both necessary. So it doesn't really mean they are light or dark. It just means they have a particular purpose in the existence of everything. So, try not to think in terms of light and dark. Think in terms of tasks and achievements, if I can put it that way. You need a particular thing. Coming back to nature, sometimes a forest fire, it's a necessary thing in order to create new life. It's painful, it's a horrible thing, it destroys, it kills. But at the same time, it's a necessary thing, because after that comes new life, comes new beginnings. freshness. So try not to think in light and dark terms. It's that is the languaging you're using, and that's probably first of all why you're questioning that, and also if you are still using that language, it's going to keep you thinking about the duality. So obviously, you've got to think about it sometimes, but try and find that equilibrium. Andrea, very interesting questions and answers today. They are very good. I'm loving this chat today. Luke's trying to try my best. You'll be fine. Some stuff's taking some time to understand them. Just take time. Andrea, Jen. I guess Nan's around. Forget the tonic. Vinada, a last question I would have is, when it comes to ceremonial magic, do you believe folk practices can lack where ceremonial may fill? Mainly due to the fact that meditation and folk magic fill in much where ceremonial would originally take place. People today tend to avoid ceremonial practices. Thank you for telling me that. It's a pleasure. Alright, so when it comes to, actually, I was watching, go onto YouTube, find somebody called Mavius Lynn. She is a Thelemite, and she's excellent, she really is, and she actually answered this question. I was watching a video the other day, and she answered this question. When it comes to ceremonial magic, Thelema, Golden Dawn, etc., they don't really have a use for folk magic, because that's not the goal. Their aim is the great work. Their aim is to reach knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, and therefore they use particular technologies to do that, which are meditations, working with the chakras, energy work and things like that. But that's the goal. Trying to pay the rent at the end of the month isn't part of the goal of that particular framework. So, but at the same time, a singular practitioner may want to do that as well. So therefore folk practices, folk magic comes into play. This idea of, we talk about the low magic and the high magic. So folk magic comes into play in order to achieve those particular goals. But the goal of ceremonial magic itself is the great work. It's got nothing to do with your daily life and your finances and things like that. That's something different to ceremonial magic. So let me just go back to your question. Do you believe folk practices can lack where ceremonial may fall? So yeah, I think when it comes to this, it's about the goal you have in mind. And some people don't actually do magic at all, even within witchcraft or paganism, within particular pagan faiths, pagan traditions. There is no use of magic. It may be worship of deities, but they don't do magic at all. In other cases, they may not have any particular use or need or want to worship deities. They may just do magic. That's just within witchcraft itself. So, you've got all different strains and all different things, but when it comes to folk practices versus ceremonial, two very different avenues for two very different goals and aims in mind. So, yeah, that's basically what that boils down to. Johanna, is there any spirit you've wanted to work with that you just didn't have a connection with? Yes. Pazuzu. I wanted to work with Pazuzu at one stage. I was constructing a compass that actually was very specific to the Mesopotamian deities, mostly Sumerian, and the four winds itself made up the intercardinal points, and Pazuzu was one of them, and just no connection at all. There's been several, actually, quite a lot. There are particular spirits like Horus that I did work with, that I will never work with again, because I don't like them. Belial actually is probably one of them. I just can't get a connection. And Flerius also. Flerius is an aspect of Horus, so that's probably why. But Belial is one that I haven't been able to get a connection with. So there are quite a few, quite a lot. So yeah, Melanin. I remember I had insane fear and anxiety until my boy Michael came in. Oh, you're talking about Archangel Michael. What was that in regards to? I think I've missed something. I feel like I've missed something. I've skipped something. I can't find anything now. Not sure that was in connection with, sorry. Luke's well said, nice explain. Okay, good stuff. Nada. I didn't think Thelemite practices would be excluded. I'm glad to hear your voice on this topic. Thank you again on this. The great work, and the end result is what things come down to. Yes, thank you very much for this. I appreciate your time again. That's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Sorry, I'm actually coming back to your statement there. I didn't think Thelemite practices would be excluded. Excluded from what? I feel like I'm missing things. Don't mind expanding on that. Luke, do you think that all demons have to listen to Lilith and Samael? And if you have strong bond with Lilith, they can't do anything bad to you? No. Lilith and Samael are just two particular entities, and they don't form a part of a lot of different pantheons. And we also need to remember that when we're talking about demons, when I'm talking about demons, I'm talking about daemons and daimons. And that isn't... I don't like using this word infernals, because that relates to hell, the Christian hell, and I'm not Christian at all, so I really hate that idea of using the term infernals. But I think that's what we're kind of referring to. And when we're talking about daimons or daemons, that's a lot of different spirits. I mean, I've spoken about it quite a bit on my channel about the etymology and the history of the word daimon. I mean, this goes back to 3000 BCE, the earliest recorded mention of it anyway within the Greek. And that was before the word theos even came about. So that was referring to, daimon referred to anything, any spirit really, and that also included the expanse of what I call the all-nothing, the everything, all spirits, everything, the creation. God, so many ways we can term this. But then it, throughout history, it developed into different things, and philosophers and psychology picked it up at some stage. But Socrates came along and spoke about the eudaimon and things like that, which was a spirit that guided him. It was just a voice in his head that guided him through life. So yeah, I mean, when we're talking about daemon and daimon, we could be referring to a lot of different things, not just this idea of the infernals, these spirits that came from the Christian hell type of thing. So, in terms of that, Lilith and Samael are just two within that particular framework, and they do not fall into all pantheons. They're not mentioned at all within the Ars Goetia, so if you're working with those particular set of spirits, that pantheon itself, Lilith and Samael wouldn't even feature. So yeah, no, they don't listen to them. There's no hierarchy. You're also talking about a hierarchy there, and I don't believe in a hierarchy of spirits. I believe that is a Christian concept. So going to say no to all of that. Alright, Vinada, Pazuzu and Bess are beautiful spirits. The amount of wind spirits are immense. Your experiences are interesting to note. Yeah, it was specifically the wind spirits that were going into the cardinal points, well, into cardinal points. Trying to remember. I know there was Enlil and Ninlil. Ninasag fell in between because she was the goddess of the mountains and the underworld. I think the fourth one was Ea. I can't remember, but yeah, no, it was the four winds. But some people have inclination to exclude Thelema because of biases. Samael and Lilith even being included in ritual with Levi's and others' inclusion of the inverted pentagram. There's more, but alas. Biases to want to exclude Crowley, of course, because of political reasoning. Oh, no, no, no. There's a lot of different opinions about Crowley. Sometimes it's that you know, Crowley was a Nazi. Those stories get very interesting. If you actually read some of Milo Duquette's works, specifically about Crowley, he actually goes into a lot of the history and the debunking the ideas that people had of Crowley. And it's actually really interesting. The whole idea of Crowley being a Nazi. What was it? He was in America at the time, and he picked up a position in one of the newspapers, which at the time were America was very um, uh, friendly towards Hitler. They were going in that direction. So he actually got a job in one of these propaganda newspapers, and he used to subtly kind of exacerbate the sort of the achievements of Hitler and the Nazis, and he would like make it to such pathetic extremes that people started to question how they're actually thinking about following these people, and that's when everything shifted towards the British. So he was kind of like this Nazi sympathizer, but it was all planted. He was just planted into the whole thing. But people still carry on. They think he was a sympathizer. The idea that at one stage he said he did a ritual and he murdered thousands of children, and people take that literally to mean that he literally he sacrificed thousands of children. He was actually just talking about ejaculation. He ejaculated during a ritual, and his sperm had no use anywhere, so they all died. So thousands of children got killed. I mean, this is the shit he used to talk. Oh gosh, I love Crowley. I think Crowley was brilliant. I know a lot of people don't agree with Crowley, but yeah. Jono, Uncle Lee, your grey wall is depressing. I'm sorry, I will eventually get a backdrop. I just haven't been able to afford one lately. Please do me a favour and tell me you have a houseplant. I don't. I've got a very black thumb. Peace lilies are cool. Sorry for being mean to your wall. It's a strong wall, don't worry. It will manage. Luke, so I always saw this. That was like Lilith is mother of all demons, and if you are important to her, although this is in certain traditions, yes, Lilith is considered to be the mother of all demons. In other traditions, she is considered to be the killer of children. In other traditions, she is considered to be the liberator of women. So there's many different faces and aspects of Lilith, as there are with other deities. So that's within one particular tradition. She is the mother of demons. But again, this comes back to the idea of demons coming from the Christian hell, and I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in Christianity. I have absolutely no following of Christianity at all. I have removed that from my life completely. So the Christian hell is non-existent for me. So therefore, there cannot be entities that come from the Christian hell, because it doesn't exist. So when I'm talking about demons or daemons or daimons, I'm talking about tutelary spirits. I actually prefer to... They're more the chthonic spirits, like the Goetia spirits, that are sort of closer to the Middle Earth, or the earthly realm, middle world type of thing. Which is why we can work with them so easily and tangibly, and work with them about or on just daily activities, daily things that we need to do, because they are chthonic. But also, I mean, chthonic means underworldly as well. So it's about the underworld spirits, which then gets a bit messy because then there's many interpretations of what the underworld is. So again, it comes back. This all boils down to personal worldview as well. If that is your worldview, then that's your worldview. It might not be my worldview. It doesn't mean that my worldview needs to be the same as yours, or vice versa. You create your own worldview, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is no I am correct and you are wrong. That doesn't exist in my world. So you build your own worldview. If you have a conversation with Lilith and Samael, and they tell you that's what they are, then that's your worldview, and you build that yourself. So yeah. Andrea, more Bahogs. Oh, we'll switch now. Oh, where'd it go? It's Sisters of Mercy now. Melanin. I'd like to build a relationship with one demon and archangel. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. What you're going to be doing there, again, coming back to worldview, my idea of what an archangel is may be very different to what yours is. And again, demon is one or the other. In my own personal terminology, a demon is a chthonic spirit, an underworldly spirit, whereas an archangel is more of a celestial spirit. Two very different purposes. It doesn't mean that one is more powerful than the other. It doesn't mean that one is above the other. That's a very Christian thing. Angels themselves, I consider to be forces of nature. The earthquakes, the wind, the storms, just huge energies, big energies. Whereas the demons are the chthonic spirits. They are the underworldly spirits. They are the ones that are closer to our realm, very more kind of more individual, more focused, I suppose we could say, on smaller tasks. I can put it that way. But yeah, that's my interpretation. Might not be yours. Don't know. Yeah, what's that word? Is it epithet for all the Liliths? Yeah, epithet's probably a good way to put it, actually. And we find this with a lot of different deities and a lot of different traditions and cultures. I mean, you've got, like, in the Hindu culture, you've got the 1001 names of Kali and the 1001 names of Shiva, and etc., etc., etc. And then in Greek, have a look at the Greek. You've got hundreds and hundreds of names for Hecate, and hundreds of names for Zeus, and hundreds of names for all of the different gods and goddesses. And each name, in the Greek, it's usually, like, if you're talking about Zeus, Zeus Ktesios, or I can't think of any others now because I work with Zeus Ktesios, so that's why I remember that one. You've got it's Zeus something, usually Zeus something or Hecate something, and this is kind of like Zeus of the whatever it is, Zeus the protector of the household, Zeus the gatherer of wealth, Zeus the whatever it is. Okay, so it's kind of like that, the job title almost. You can actually think of this very much in terms of like how Dutch people got their surnames. Because at one stage they actually didn't have surnames, and then I can't remember why or who came along, but they were kind of told they have to have surnames now. So their surnames actually ended up being the job that they had, like Karsjacher, or that was cheese smoker or something. But it was like if the person worked in a smokehouse, that would be their surname. So it's a bit like that actually. But you find it in Nordic traditions as well. There's 101 names of Odin. So yeah, very much the epithet or the facet or the face or the mask of the particular deities. Luke's interesting. How do you see hierarchy in Hell Realm? Like Lilith and Samael are most important, and they are others lower, etc. I'm so curious. How do you see all of this? Well, Hell Realm, as I said, I'm assuming you're talking about. What Jono said, cheese smoker. What does Kartiacha mean? I can't remember now. I just remember I used to know somebody whose surname was Kartiacha. Was it cheese chaser? I can't remember. But anyway, let me get back to Luke's question. All right, so I assume you're talking about the Christian hell, and as I said, for me, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So the idea of hierarchy in terms of power play, this spirit is more powerful than this spirit, is very much a Christian thing, and it's because of the idea of the angels and the saints and all of that stuff. So that's why we had this power play, because God had to be the ultimate power over and above everything else. But in my own interpretation of things, there is no such thing as this power hierarchy. Hell, as I said, doesn't exist for me. I'm not Christian, and that is a Christian concept, purely a Christian concept. It's even a modern concept. The Christian hell didn't even exist in the Bible. It was just invented, created. But for me, everything has a purpose and a task. Even, we talk about astral parasites or astral larvae quite a lot, and we don't want them. We don't want a parasite attached to us because it drains our energy and it creates fear and depression and anxiety so it can get more food. And it's unpleasant, it's not nice. But at the same time, they are a necessary part of the existence of everything. So, we have to have them. There's no way they can be removed or just disposed of completely. They have to exist in order to. This is the only reason we can get equilibrium and balance, is if all these things exist, and we bring them all into unity and balance. I suppose we also talk about lesser spirits, which are these astral parasites. But astral parasites can be quite potent and powerful in themselves. You attach to an astral parasite and they can do things for you. And quite easily as well. But they do it because they want you to trust them, and the more you trust them, the stronger the relationship grows. And the stronger the relationship, the more they can feed. And the more difficult it becomes to just detach from them. So they're going to do things, but they have the ability to do things for you. So they're quite strong. They're quite powerful and potent. Just because we may call them lower vibrational or lesser spirits, doesn't mean they are useless. So this whole idea of power hierarchy, just for me, doesn't exist. Everything has a purpose. Everything is meant to be. Whether it's destructive, creative, whether it's a powerful force that can shake the earth and swallow buildings, or whether it's a force that makes a flower bloom. There's no difference in potency. It's all purpose. So, that's basically my idea. Arena, very interesting conversations today. They are indeed. I'm enjoying it completely. It was fun listening. I have to go, but have a nice day, even. Have a good one. Thanks for joining, Arena. Melanin, thoughts on Bua, and have you worked with them? I haven't worked with Bua, never come up. There's just so many spirits. The funny, I actually was talking about this the other day with somebody. When I find that if you work with a particular pantheon, and we're talking about the Goetia spirits here. If you work with them, I found that you either get accepted or you don't. It's like I've said this for years, it's like joining a bike gang. And if you get accepted into the bike gang, then, they're all there for you. It's like one big happy family type of thing. Well, not everybody's happy, but one big family. And if you do need the help of any of them, you can just call out because you kind of connected. There is actually Johannan actually speaks about this, and I've never worked with it, but there's a specific. I'm going to call it an egregore because I don't think it's actually a spirit, but it is considered to be the collective of all of the Goetia spirits, and you can then speak to this one particular entity or use this one particular name for all of them, and that's very similar to what I'm talking about here. Is that you kind of connect, if you connect with a few of them and you kind of get accepted, you kind of connect with the group. And there's lots that I don't work with, lots that I've had no need to work with, therefore I haven't, like Bua, for instance. But there are specific ones that I work with on a more constant basis. And it actually boils down to five of them. But at the same time, if something popped up in my life that, just suddenly popped up that I've never had a problem with before, I've got access to all the different spirits. So, yeah, I find that quite useful, Andrea, Luke's hierarchy is a very human viewpoint, but it's kind of like we understand from the perspective of where we are spiritually, so no wrong or right, although it sounds Christian viewpoint maybe. Yeah, I agree with that. Luke's yes, also curious of the lead point of view about it. Okay. Jono, you mind me asking, Uncle, where we live is crazy Christian. Have you done a good job separating from that? Yeah, I think I have. It's taken years. It's taken a long time to deprogram everything, and I think I still every now and again something pops up that I kind of have to stop and think about. But at the same time, at one point I was going to become a Methodist minister. I was a youth leader in my church, my Methodist church. I got quite involved. I had 2 callings, funny enough, to demonology and healing, so I'm still doing that, just in a different way. And then I was going to leave school. I was going to finish school, high school, and then I was going to go down to Durban to Bible school and become a Methodist minister. And lots of things happened to change that. But yeah, so I have a very, very deep ingrained Christianity in me, but at the same time, I've the blinkers have been taken off. Let's put it that way. I don't think this is. I suppose it is very Christian, but I don't think it's as bad as a lot of areas and countries. There's some countries where it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I have some neighbours over here. Every Wednesday they do their happy clappy thing. They shout and they chase the demons out of each other and things like that in the flat apartment. But then I do my thing as well, where I was just doing it the other day. I was very loudly doing an invocation, and my windows are open. I'm pretty sure everybody could hear me, so if they don't like it, they don't have to like it. They can just sod off if they like it. Andrea, Luke, sorry if I offended you. I'm just trying to be helpful. Sometimes I'm too quick to talk. My apologies for this. And Andrea, not at all, don't worry. Yes, stop worrying, Andrea. You always worry about those things. Luke's, with each Covenstead, I feel like I'm progressing a lot. It's not many people like you. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Father. That's an absolute pleasure. Jono, also, please get a plant. It's really bothering you, isn't it? I'm going to leave it like this now. I was very alone on the mines. A friend got me a Sheena's gold, and I think that stupid plant saved my life. I've got nowhere to put a plant, that's the problem. I've got a little altar down here. It's my finance business altar. So, you know, I've got no place for a plant. But I will get a backdrop. Eventually I'll get a backdrop. Everybody just buys my course, I'll be able to get a backdrop. Jono, it's going to take you a second to get to this message, Methodist minister. Much respect finding your path. Yeah, no, it was actually, I've told it out before, I think, as far as I know. The story of me, my change and the way I was chased away from the church, kind of. But what I really found interesting about that whole experience was that, as I said, I had two callings, to demonology and to healing, and that didn't change. The context changed. So the spirit that was guiding at the time is continued to guide, whether we call that God or whatever the hell we want to call it. That didn't change, but it pushed me in a particular direction to put me into that situation in order for me to be exposed to a particular thing, and then it guided me out, so that I could then go on to do what I needed to do. I suppose we could call that my personal daimon, my holy guardian angel, was guiding me in particular directions. So that actually becomes a very interesting part of that whole experience. But anyway. Luke's, it might be a dumb question. Do you feel like beings, deities, sometimes having bad times? Today I asked a question to Daji and I didn't get an answer. Maybe I should wait more, but I'm wondering. I'm not sure they I don't know, maybe they do have bad times. I mean, we kind of envision the deities as being these all-powerful, potent spirits, and they're not really. They live and they die. They have gods of their own. They have communities, especially when we're talking about spirits like the Galatia. I mean, if we consider them to be Jinn, the Fae have communities. They have children. They probably have commerce, finance, all of the stuff that we have. It's just in a different parallel to what, our existence. So maybe they do have bad times. But at the same time, it could be that you didn't get an answer because you're not supposed to get the answer at this point. Could be hundreds and hundreds of different reasons for that. Maybe you're just having a bad day and you weren't able to make the connection properly. Kind of like a bad router connection or something like that. So it could be many reasons for that. Richard, happy clappy thing. Oh yes, that would annoy me. It's not that bad. I did, the first few times it started, I did go outside trying to figure out which unit it is, so I can give them like bad stares and things like that. But it's just every Wednesday. Jono, in the corner of the plant, I'm helping you. Richard Lee, you can't even keep a plastic plant alive. Rather we get you a backdrop. Yeah, no, that would be a better idea, I think. My daughter crocheted me a pot plant. Just hanging in the lounge. So I do have a crocheted pot plant, and that's still alive. So I'm not doing too bad. Pinado, strangely enough, Where spirituality can be an issue, sorry, where spirituality can be an issue, where spirituality can easily be bought, a universal life church. What is your viewpoint of uniting two people under the view of demon worship? I do ask this because it is such an easily obtained thing. Are you talking about actual like hand fasting marriage or something like that? I actually did a hand fasting for two people who were demonologists. So yeah, I guess we could basically call it that. It wasn't Universal Life Church. I mean, I don't have any official. I'm not a reverend or anything like that. But it was part of the community aspect. It was friends of mine, so I did it for them. I did a hand fasting after that for somebody else because then word got around, and I was like, I'm not doing this again. I can't do public things. I know it's probably going to come up again and again and again. I'm going to be forced to do it, but I'm really terrible at it. Jono, Richard, please don't pile on. I'm scared. If we gang up, he'll shut down. Oh no. Andrea, still haven't finished my coffee. You guys got me talking so much. My coffee's gone. Andrea, I got kicked out of Sunday school. Good you. We were told to write the worst swear word we knew onto a piece of paper. I asked why. Told it was to show God forgives. Okay. That's a weird Sunday school practice, but anyway. Yeah, you're not allowed to ask why. That's a bad thing to do in church. Vanada, essentially a demonic wedding, kind of edginess not being wanted here, but heavily implied. Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is when we start talking about the edgelords and stuff, I don't really consider them. Yeah, okay, they are left-hand path because that's a very dual in aspect. But I wouldn't actually consider what Connolly speaks about in terms of modern demonolatry to be in that realm. Definitely not edgy. Very, very grounded actually. But yeah, I do know what you mean. Let's go back to your original question. What's my viewpoints on uniting two people under the view of demon worship? I don't see anything wrong with it. I think in a lot of cases when you get the edginess, it's mostly about optics. Not in all cases. Everybody's different. We all have our own path to follow, a path to tread and create. But I think in a lot of cases it becomes about optics, about how people view us. Maybe that's due to an insecurity. I don't know. When I started this channel, a friend of mine actually told me I need to start wearing eyeliner and nail polish. I told her I'm definitely not doing that. So yeah, no, I can't. Way past that. I'm too old for that shit. Luke's maybe the reason was that her soul evolved. I also felt like this energy was a bit different, and earlier we had such a harmony. I will keep investigating. I don't know, possible. It's absolutely, but anything's possible. I don't think. You'd also consider that when it comes to these spirits, they are on a completely different dimension to us. If we're talking about fifth dimensional beings, the time, there is no time. It works completely different to our concept of what it is. And even if you look at the old tales and the old myths and legends and whatnot about people being taken into fairyland, whether it's like Thomas the Bimer from England, or whether it's that tale from Tibet or something, I can't remember. People who get taken into the other world often experience, that it feels like an hour's passed, they come back, and it's been 100 years or 7 years or something like that. So time's very different there as well. So, I don't know. It's possible. Let's put it that way. My chat just skipped. Hold on. Andrea, so I said I didn't want to bother God by needing His forgiveness and got through. Love it. Hand fasting, yes, that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for that. The website states a shoddy reverend thing. Yeah, it actually has its purpose. There was in the early 2000s, there was when it all really got going. There was a big thing of oh God, hang on. What is this person talking about? You're being monitored. You can never escape tribal accountability on this earth. Asa Heka Amen Ra Oh Nation Grand Rising Karma Resting. Okay, whatever. Let's get booted. Just please hold. I just want to get rid of this stupid, idiotic, annoying person. Hide user on this channel. Okay. Bye. Alright, sorry, to get back to your question. Just put this up here. Disappeared. Hand fasting, yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, so the whole reverend thing with the shirt, they were doing the instant reverend, blah 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 blah. It did have its purpose because a lot of people within the pagan communities, they did want to do things like hand fastings and funeral ceremonies, wickenings and requiems and all of that stuff, but they couldn't do it officially, and they wanted to. A lot of people did want to, so it did have a good purpose behind it. But yeah, I think a lot of people started taking advantage of it. There was somebody who got their goldfish ordained. So people started making a joke of it back then. It's still going on, obviously. But I think now that the kind of craziness surrounding it has died out a bit, I don't think it's as bad as it was. But yeah, I do know what you mean, though. Jono, your daughter crocheted you a plant. Okay, I apologise. No, there isn't. Trust me, no. Venada, God-forgiving kind of depends on the God implied as well. Odd one in a way. Thanks for that. It's just one of those things, really. Yep, absolutely. Dragon, as crazy as it is, I know the feeling of thinking you're going to be a Christian priest. I myself thought I was going to become a Christian monk to perform miracles like St. Francis. Yeah, we do have these kind of illusions or allusions, especially in our youth. We had a crochet plant, it's positively adorable. Eyeliner and nail polish in South Africa, that would have been ballsy. Well, at my age it would have been ballsy, what are you talking about? Even when it comes to Land of the Fae, if you think of the Tuatha De Danann, it's also very different. Oh yes, absolutely. Andrea, tell me more. What are you talking about? I wouldn't even worry about it, Andrea. Stop feeding the trolls. Yeah, I tried to stop feeding the trolls. Luke's probably first person in live who did this. I'm sorry that you had to see this negative. Oh no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. There's going to be more and more. The channel is growing. I have taken the approach that they don't get my energy at all. They don't even get replies anymore. All of the Christian people, I just delete them. So it's not worth it. I want this to be a safe place to be, and I want it to be educational and where we can all talk about the occult and witchcraft and magic and everything else. And if we're going to start focusing on those morons, that's where all the energy goes, and that's just going to be a waste of time. Anyway, been on for almost 2 hours. My butt is now officially numb and sore from this chair. I'm just going to show you my SMA again. This I have not used, but I love it. I'm going to start using it, just in case anybody missed it. How cool is that? Let me show you close up. Right, let me do that. And it's got the caduceus at the bottom there. It's very serpentine. I can't decide if it's a... It's very androgynous, actually. I like it. Luke's, thank you. Oh, right, sorry, I missed something. What did I miss? Oh no, that's fascinating. Dragon, that's my background also. I started with Christianity. Oh yeah, yeah. Andrea told them they make Jesus cry. They do, actually. I usually tell them that Jesus would be ashamed. He's not coming back. Doesn't want to see that shit. Luke, thank you so much for everything. It was amazing, like always. It's a pleasure. That is a beautiful athame. Mine is a rather simple but beautiful bit. My actual athame that I use is just a double-edged dagger. Nothing special, but this I've got in my bookcase in the lounge usually. But last week I can't remember why I said I would show everybody. So have it here. Luke's nice sword. It seems like you are in warrior path. Well, I'm kind of walked the Toltec warrior path, if that's what you mean. My sword's over there though. Maybe I'll show you that next week. I've actually got a walking stick, which is a dragon handle, and it unscrews and it comes out, and it's like a rapier sword, which is pretty cool. I missed something. Where am I? Okay, here we go. Alright. Andrea, that is super cool. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, okay. I have a very bad joke. Jesus was nailed to a cross and not a boomerang. He is Duncan Factor. That is awful. Alright. Oh, I'm going to go do my butt a favour and stand up, so I'm going to finish the live now. Thanks for joining, everybody. I really enjoyed today's chat. That was absolutely brilliant. Loved it. And as per usual, Vinada, as someone who has interviewed a Christian for a project, I do enjoy having multiple side views. I can only assume you have had very bad experiences. I'm personally a demonologist. I actually haven't had that many bad experiences, and I think it's probably because I leave them alone to their own devices. If they say, I'm praying for you, I say, thank you for the energy, I will put it to good use. But I don't. I did get to the point one stage where I started attacking them, and I thought, what's the point? They're not going to listen to me, they're not going to change, I'm just wasting my energy. So now they just get deleted on the channel. But I really haven't had many bad experiences. And yeah. Good night all. Thanks. Many thanks for the video. It's much appreciated. It's a pleasure. Pleasure, everybody, and thank you for joining. Thank you for all the questions and the chat. I'll see you next week. Cheers for now. Bye bye.